Hey guys, this is Vid. Welcome to another Deck Tech. Today we're going to be doing some Zombie Warlock Zoo. It's a pretty fun and effective deck that takes advantage of some of the new cards, and it's actually pretty cheap to build. So we're going to be doing a Deck Tech here in this video. If you want to see gameplay of the deck, go ahead and go to the next video. That should be uploaded shortly after this one. I'll also be doing an ultra budget version of this with only commons and basics at the end of this video. So let me start by going over the cards that we're building around our zombies. We are building around Grim Necromancer, Skelemancer, Necrotic Geist, and Vrygul. These are zombie type minions. They take advantage usually of flooding the board with Grim Necromancer and Necrotic Geist, while Skelemancer and Vrygul both punish our opponents for clearing them on our turn. They're especially anti-board wipe cards. You see, that's where Zoo actually can really fall behind, is if the opponent has multiple board wipes, but these cards kind of strengthen that a little bit. So we're filling up the board with lots of small bodies, 1/1s and 2/2s. The real payoffs we're running in the deck for taking advantage of that. We can set up in advance with Knife Juggler and Dark Shower Councilman. Either one of these, if we get one of these down turn 2, turn 3, and then drop a Grim Necromancer turn 4, we're either going to get 3 attack on our Dark Shower Councilman or 3 Knife Juggles on Knife Juggler. And that's just a lot of value. We can really take advantage of that. And then the other big payoffs for after we already have the 1/1s and 2/2s and stuff on the board. So we have a copy of Sea Giant, which can frequently come out for very cheap. And 2 copies of Defender of Argus, which works really well, especially with the Skelemancer, because you basically force them to attack into it. What'll happen a lot when you drop Skelemancer is they'll ignore it completely. But if it has taunt, they can ignore it, and they're going to have to kill it, and you're going to get an 8/8. Now, Corpse Razor and the Lich King are in here mostly as fun cards. They're thematic zombies, but they're actually not the most effective cards. I'm going to be running them in here because they are still pretty good cards, but they're super fun to play. I definitely put these in here last if you're trying to create the deck. Some honorable mention cards that you could replace these with is Leroy Jenkins, Doomguard. You could throw in a couple copies of Argent Squire. One of the new cards that's really cool that you could add in instead of that is Wretched Tiller. That's going to be over here. Vicious Fledgling, and you could also throw in another copy of Sea Giant. That would probably make the deck more competitive if you did one of those options. But I really like the Lich King and Corpse Razor. There's some really fun stuff you can do with them, and it's very thematic, so I'm going to be running them here. Now to look at the ultra budget version. That is going to be... So I took all the epics, rares, and legendaries from the other deck and replaced them with basic cards. I didn't replace them with commons because I didn't want you to have to craft any cards that you're not going to be wanting. Any of the options I mentioned before would be acceptable replacements. Argent Squire is probably going to be the one that's not here that you're most likely to have, that I would definitely stick in there instead of, say, Mortal Coil. But otherwise, these are all replaced with basics. And other quick options, just so you know, you can run more copies of Fallen Sun Clinic, more copies of Ravasaur Runt. Go ahead and feel free to cut some of these basics that I threw in here and add in more copies of those 2 cards or any of the other cards I've mentioned previously. Otherwise, this deck will probably run just fine. The budget version, you could easily get to rank 15 with this list, and you could continue upgrading it to get to the point where you have the other deck. And the other deck is definitely competitive to Challenger if you can play it well. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next. Alright, so there's the deck. Tune in for the test games coming right up.